Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to the Word According to Me. This one is kind of this type of topic, right? Um, our fetishes, kinks. The backstory to this is that I saw, I saw at least two, maybe even three videos on TikTok of white women, of all people, calling out other white women for fetishizing black men. And it's and I hate this because you can't fetishize a person. You can't. These white women, they have their preference, and their preference is black men, which is great. Which is great, right? And so why try to call them out for like fetishizing black men? It's not fetishizing. It's not fetishizing black men. It's not fetishizing black men to black men to be your husband or boyfriend or whatever like that. It's not fetishizing black men to want to have sex with black men and be a queen of spades, and that's a whole nother topic. They say that the women who call themselves queen of spades and have can get the queen of spades tattoo. Um, they say that it's fetishizing black men. No, it's not. You just want to have sex with black men. You want to have sex with primarily only black men, other than your husband. That's really it's all part of the whole cuckolding lifestyle and things like that. Which that cuckolding is a kink. I think that's a kink, and that's what we were kind of discussing here today. That's what this thing from our fetishes kinks, because I think we've made things like foot fetish and latex fetish and all these other things. I think we've kind of turn them into something that maybe that they're not, or they have, or maybe they was once a fetish, but now as we have become more sexually open, they aren't, they aren't as fetishes. They're now kinks. So I think we're going to discuss that in a little bit, and we got a couple websites I'm going to read off to you about. Yeah, um, we're going to go there in this video today. Okay, so first let's take a look at the definitions for both of these, right? Let's take a look at fetish. Noun, a form of sexual desire in which gratification is linked to an abnormal degree to a particular object, item of clothing, part of your body, etc. Never said anything about a person. You can't fetishize a person. But let's get that off right away, right? But like I mentioned, like latex, like you can say, like you can maybe fetishize titties, maybe you want to do that, yeah, you can fetishize that, you know, I don't know, something like that, but you can't fetishize a whole person. So that's, so we ended it right there. Stop saying there's such a thing as fetishizing black men or fetishizing any person. You can't do it. So let's look at kink. In human sexuality, kinkiness is the use of non-conventional sexual practices, concepts, or fantasies. The term derives from the idea of a bend in one's sexual behavior, to contrast sex behavior with straight or vanilla sexual mores and proclivities. Bondage, maybe the handcuffs, and things like that. And I kind of like I mentioned earlier, I kind of think the fetishes are kind of kinks, right? It's kind of kink because I think it is. We talked about over here um the kind of bend in one's sexual behavior from the straight or vanilla proclivities of sexual beings. And then this one was talking about something being gratification to a abnormal degree. So I definitely think that it is kind of like the same thing. I really do. And I think that it is. I think as we go on to like to the next one, and we looked at some of the websites, I think we'll see the some of the difference in some of the actual um, kinks and fetishes that there are out there, and so I think we'll figure that out. Okay, so I've got two websites here that I'm going to read list off to you. Links are in the description box down below. You can go to these and read along with me if you want to, and or you can just go ahead and go back to them later or save them in your favorites or anything like that. If any of these interest you. This first one is from Allure.com. It is 11 of the most common sexual fetishes um, by Sophie St. Thomas. This just a few months ago, July 16th, 2021. Right. The term fetish may evoke images of black bodysuits and complicated sexual contraptions, but you may already be acting out with some of the most common examples. Spanking, for instance. What defines a fetish, though, isn't what the activity or object of desire is as much as the role it plays in someone's life. A fetish is typically referred to as a behavior that someone cannot get sexually aroused without. Fetish can also be a term people use to describe sexual arousal that is coupled with typical non-sexual objects, says sexologist and psychologist Denise Renee. Okay, while people often using the term fetish and kink interchangeable, a kink means an activity or behavior that someone enjoys that exists outside of the norm of traditional sex, such as incorporating handcuffs or even balloons. Some kinks may be bondage and they may be incredibly excited when they're tied up, or someone may have a bondage fetish, and their entire sexuality may revolve around restraint. By contrast, a turn on may be something that simply arouses a person. Um, and then we go down here. Um, Research suggests that perhaps half of us are interested in sexual activities outside the norm. So if you're interested in trying any of the following, rest assured you're not alone. And of course, with any type of sex, acting on fetishes or kinks should always involve enthusiastic consent from all parties and safer sex practices, such as the use of condoms to prevent unwanted pregnancies and STIs. So here we go. 1 impact play. Impact play may mean spanking, flogging, paddling, and other forms of consensual striking. I'm not gonna go to read because they kind of almost wrote like one or two paragraphs for each one. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna give you like the name and then what kind of what it says at the beginning. 2, role playing. You don't have to stop playing make believe when you grow up. Role playing means acting out a sexual fantasy with your partner either once or as a part of an ongoing fantasy. 3. Foot fetish. A foot fetish involves a desire to worship feet through acts such as massage, kissing, and smelling. Anal sex. You don't need to have an anal fetish to engage in anal sex, but plenty of people do specifically get off on butt stuff, and it is kind of sickening to be very honest with you. It is kind of sickening. I don't get it. 5, lingerie. Renee says that one of the most common fetishes centers on something that may be sitting inside your dresser drawer right now. Lingerie. This may show up in sexual play between individuals who may consider themselves kinky or they have a fetish or 2 or 3. Group sex. Group sex is getting it on with more than one person. If you ever swiped on Tinder, you're likely aware that many couples are searching for a third. And although group sex means more than just a threesome, an orgy is when a group of people of all genders have sex, while a gangbang typically refers to one person having sex with more than 2 members of another gender. While the term has past violent connotations, it's used in the kink community to refer to consensual scenarios. 3. Sensation play. Sensation play can refer to a huge range of activities based on the receiving and withholding of a different stimuli. For instance, one partner may blindfold the other to deprive them of their sense of sight, a form of sensory deprivation, or they may drag an ice cube along their skin, a form of sensual play known as temperature play. Got it? Number 8, orgasm control. Orgasm control is part of BDSM, as it involves an element of dominance and submission. 9 is bondage. Bondage is when one partner restrains the other. It is usually a form of dominance and submission and falls under the BDSM umbrella. You can bind your partner using objects you already have around, such as a belt, or you can purchase specialty kink items like handcuffs. 10. Psychological play. While the physical actions such as spanking are often discussed, kinks, and fetishes, some of the most intense sexual play takes place in the mind. Renee refers to the psychological power play as mind control. It's a type of BDSM. Psychological play involves implementing a sexual power exchange. So, she gives the example of humiliation play. You may have heard something about, guys, going to dominatrix and being, walking around on floors and dogs. That's what that is. And number 11, voyeurism. A study on fetishes published in the Journey of Sex Research found voyeurism, or obtaining sexual pleasure from watching others who are naked or having sex, to be one of the most common fetishes. Of course, as with every other fetish, engage in voyeurism consensually. For an example, at a sex party where a couple has given you the permission to watch. Watching someone without their permission is never acceptable. The flip side of voyeurism is exhibitionism, which means achieving sexual pleasure by allowing others to watch you. So that is for allure. And as you can see, she does. When you go back up here, she does talk about that, and she kind of says that while people often use the term fetish and kinks interchangeably, but I think what she's kind of proving there is that they are the same thing. And that's what this video is, and I think she kind of proved that they're the same. I do think that these are different things. I do think that these are the same thing, especially now. I think your kink, because I don't know, like if you go down here to like bondage, right? I think that's your kink. That's your kink to, put yourself into some handcuffs and things like that when you're getting ready to have sex. I think that's your kink, right there. And I think I don't think that's necessarily a fetish, but she has it as one of the 11 common sexual fetishes, right? So yeah. So if you go back to what she says here about fetishes, let's see. A fetish is typically referred to as a behavior that someone cannot be sexually aroused without. So we bring up like the foot fetish. So can someone get aroused? Can someone get aroused, without touching someone else's foot? Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's interesting one. But see, I don't. Or could you get aroused without doing bondage? See, and this is just me just talking, but I see if you can get aroused, without having these other things, then it might be might be something wrong with you, sexually, and it's something that you might need to, like look inside yourself and figure out like why is this happening, right? Because that shouldn't be the case. Like it should, having the feet should enhance your thing, right? If you're into that thing, right? It should enhance your pleasure. It should not be the reason why you get aroused because of it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, like I said, I'm thinking that these things are totally changing. I really do. Let's quickly go through another website, which is also in the description box down below. It is on kinktest.org. These are the links. Some of these pictures they have up here are very funny. These are the list of kinks, definitions of the most common and popular kinks, over 100 plus. Let's read some of this. Are you tired of your vanilla sex life? If you've ever felt shamed by having a dirty little secret about what turned you on long ago, nowadays it's likely for you to get teased without being in a deadbed. Like it or not, times have changed. So have we. Thought once considered mentally deviant, in recent years, sexual subcultures, kink, fetishism, and BDSM has been accepted by society wildly than ever before, and many sex researchers believe that unconventional sexual practices have no association with psychiatric disorder. In fact, they're more common than we think. A recent study published in the Journal of Sex Research finds that 1 in 3 people in the U.S. have taken part in one at least once in their lives. Due to advances in research and clinical practice, major shifts in social attitudes, fetishism have been taken off of the sick list of the World Health Organization since 2018. Excuse me. And we just heard of the World Health Organization, the WHO, and not the rock band the Who, but the Who that keeps us safe. You know, last year we first heard most of us probably heard of them last year when we heard about when we heard about COVID-19, the coronavirus. For most people who are into kinky sex, a kink or a fetish is just an unusual form of one's sexual expression as long as it's safe, sane, and consensual. It doesn't cause any distress or impairment to anyone. Needless to say, if practiced properly, a kink or fetish will spice up your sex life and establish a stronger sexual bond between the partner. What is even more, it might be correlated with better mental health. Dive into the world of kinks. You will be ashamed of your imaginative poverty because once you think one thing you may consider absurd or bizarre happens to be appealing to another person. There are many websites about the list of kinks and fetishes. Many of them are merely a roundup of psychiatric terminology. It is easy to get confused or misguided if you don't know where to draw a line between unusual sexual interests and mental disorders. If you have thoroughly understood your kinks and checking out our kinks list, you can go to the largest kinky dating app, Kink D, to find like-minded people. So there's even a dating site for people who are into kinks, and so that's very interesting. So here are some definitions of kink, fetish, and paraphilic disorder. Kink is an unconventional sexual taste or behavior. A kink can turn you on, but you don't necessarily need it for sexual fulfillment. A fetish is a condition in which you have a strong sexual fixation on a particular inanimate object or non-genital body part, and you can't get turned or orgasm without it. The object or body part getting you off is called a fetish. Now, and again, the, here we have two different things, but again, I'm going to say that I don't think, at least for me, I don't think that's the case. I really don't. To me, again, I think they're the same thing. I think a kink and a fetish are the same thing. Again, if you can't get turned on or you can't orgasm without, you know, latex, or you can't, or without touching somebody's feet or something like that, I think it's a problem. It is a problem, and that should be, you should talk to somebody about that. I've said I think kink and fetishes are the same thing. I think this, this is, these two differences have changed. I think kink and fetish is among the same thing. Let's continue. Paraphilia is a psychiatric term for kink, referring to any atypical and non-normative sexual behavior by which you get sexual arousal and gratification. Fetishism is a category of paraphilia. Then there's paraphilic disorder. You may have a paraphilia, but not meet the criteria for a paraphilic disorder unless it causes one, psychological distress, injury, death to anyone or it, or two, involving unwilling persons or persons unable to give legal consent. Put it this way: is it the human right to have an unusual sexual taste, but any kink is with the possibility of a diagnosis of the paraphilic disorder. So stay conscious and play wisely. So some categories of kinks. In fact, there is no such thing as a complete list of kinks. Generally speaking, you can have a kink for everything. Therefore, instead of simply listing in alphabetical order, we classified the most common kinks in some of the major categories based on its nature and the degree of risk. So, like as you look it down here, um, some of these you're not going to be able to learn. I'm not gonna be able to pronounce. The first one is agamatophilia, a sexual attraction for human-like statues, dolls, and mannequins. This differs from Pygmalionism, which refers to an attraction to items of one's own innate creation. Well, here is the diaper fetish, fire play, any sexual practice involving fire, food play, any sexual practice involving food, knife play, obviously running a knife or blade across one partner's for sexual gratification, the latex and rubber stuff. Robotic is a sexual attraction to robots, stockings, strap-on, uniforms, weapons, um, kinks for living beings, non-human. Dendrophilia, sexually attracted to trees. Um, Zoophilia is the sexual arousal of sex or sexual preference for non-human animals. It is not the act of having sex with animals. Only the erotic feeling of fantasies involving animals is not against the law. Yeah. Kinks for body parts. Like we said, we talked about the foot fetish. That's the main one. And then we have things, someone who's a nasophilia is a sexual arousal to noses. Let's see. I don't know. I was looking to see if what would be somebody. Um, Here's something. A com. Oh my Jesus Christ. A comoclitic. A comoclitic is someone who has a sexual attraction to hairless genitalia. Mm-hmm. Kinks for body excretion, of course, the golden showers, um, vomit. There's something else called vomit. Because I remember there was that guy on the Howard Stern show. He was a vomit guy, and Jeff the vomit guy, and he called it something. I have no idea what it was. Even menophilia, sexual arousal from menstrual blood, and whatever that is. They don't have one for squirting, but I would think that's probably that's when it comes to body fluids. That's well, no, you also have the sperm. Women would like sperm, so they like sperm, but yeah. And then there's kinks for any particular type of partner, and there's anonymous sex, going to glory holes, or something like that. Oh Jesus Christ. Gerontophilia, which is a sexual preference of the elderly. Micro fetish, sexual attraction to being small or doing the sex act with small partners, and then on the same thing, the macro fetish is a sexual attraction for beings larger than themselves. And then there's like sexual kinks for settings or places. Aquaphilia is doing things in heights. Agoraphilia is doing things in public. Aquaphilia, doing things in water. Claustrophilia is doing things in confined, enclosed spaces. Imprisonment. Nyctophilia, doing things in dark or night. Yeah, it's like physical. The thing. So that's, as you can see, I can keep going down the line. Again, I would advise you to go to this website and check and look at all of these. It's all of these. It's just it is what it is. Um, yeah, and all of these would be kinks. And again, I think fetishes as well. Um, they have here for uh, because he again we talked about it, right. You go back to the other list, they talking about sexual fetishes, and they were talking about central sensory deprivation. And here on the list of kinks, it is sensory deprivation. So I really do think that this is definitely the same thing, and I think we've almost um, yeah. But before we guys go here, as I've gone all the way down to the bottom, let's finish off with this. Since we are talking about these, let's make sure that these are extremes you should never think about. Do not let your kinks become crimes, and these are crimes that I'm going to let you know right now. Bestiality, the act of having sex with non-human animals. Hybristophilia is behaviors involving sexual activity with someone who is known to have committed an outrage or crime such as rape, murder, or armed robbery. Necrophilia, sex with human corpses. Necrozoophilia, killing animals to have sex with their dead bodies. Pedophilia, we know one. This is the easiest one, right? It's having sex activity with a pubescent child or children, generally under the age of 13 or younger. Raptophilia, the act of committing rape in order to get sexual gratification. It's also called viastophilia. Snuff, the act of killing or being killed for sexual gratification. Now, it's believed that it is only an urban legend, but there are films about real people being tortured and killed on the internet, which is extremely brutal and illegal in practice. And vorophilia, which is the act of eating someone while they are still alive or being eaten in order for sexual gratification. It is incredibly dangerous and illegal in practice. Guys, do not do this. If you are having any of these thoughts, do go get professional help, please. So, final word on this. I started this off talking about, you know, in my opinion, these being the same things, and even though they have kind of, they've kind of that these two websites that I showed, not showed, but at least I read off to you, they wanted to kind of differentiate the two. I think, to me, at least to me, they have kind of proven my point that these are the same things. These are fetishes. Again, for me, if you cannot get sexually aroused unless you are touching somebody's feet, or unless you are in um, latex, or you are whatever, whatever you're into, then I think, to me, that's not a fetish. That is um, it is a sexual deactivity. Is that a word? Um, I mean, that's what that is. I think that needs to be talked through with somebody. You know, because that's not what should be the thing. The thing should be that maybe it enhances your feeling. Sure, you get aroused, but maybe if you like latex or something like that, yes. Or if you're touching a woman's or a guy's feet, you become even more aroused. That's what it should be. I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be. You know, where you just can't. I think that's a yeah. That's something totally different. I think that's you should look into getting help for that. So yeah. Well, let me ask you guys. What do you guys think? How do you guys feel? You know, do you think these are Do you think these are the same? Do you think they're different? You know, let me know what you guys think. Um, like, uh, eh, Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Please, I'd like to hear what you guys think about this. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy, AJTRIP, signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.